Hello, Haunted Family. Welcome back. Story 1. Hospital Nights. I used to work recovery room at night. On slow nights, I would often be alone for several hours since housekeeping didn't come around until midnight, or after. I was doing stats and charges at the computer one evening. I heard a woman crying miserably. Since the unit was in the back hallway, not on the main drag, I thought that maybe someone who was upset had found their way back there to grieve alone over something. I got up to go find this person and see if I could help in some way, but there was no one there. No one outside the doors. No one in the pre-op holding area. No one in the hallways. No one in the closed pain clinic, which was just off the recovery room area. Yet I very plainly kept hearing a woman cry, seemingly just around the corner from me, but loudest near where I'd been sitting. Finally, it stopped. It wasn't really scary, but I still went and hung out with the night crew in the OR for the rest of their shift in the lounge, just to be safe. Story 2. Thinning the Veil. My grandfather was one of 4 boys and a girl. While he was in the hospital dying of cancer, family members would alternate nights staying with him, so that someone was always with him in case he passed. On my dad's night, he was asleep in the chair when something woke him up. The door slammed open, and he was blinded by a white light. The light dimmed. When he looked into the doorway, he saw figures of a man, a woman, 3 little boys, and a little girl. They walked over to the bed, and my grandfather sat straight up. They began talking to each other. My grandfather laid back down, and as the figures walked towards the door, there were now 4 little boys and a little girl. My grandfather died as he laid back down from talking to those figures. Story 3. I'll never forget. I was staying in this 3-level house in an older section of the city. This section was a regal type area, the houses dating back to the very beginning of our city. This house had 2 living rooms, a small kitchen, and a big veranda on the front of the house. A half bath on the main level. The second floor had 2 connected bedrooms, a master bedroom, and another big veranda, which was stacked on top of the one from the first floor. There was a full bathroom on this floor. On the second floor, there was a small spiral staircase that led to the 3rd floor. There was 2 bedrooms there. This is where I stayed. This was the 80s, and a lot of people stayed in this house. A lot of people came and went. About the 3rd night of me being in my new surroundings, I began feeling quite depressed to the point that I was thinking about doing something drastic. I didn't quite know why. When comparing stories later with another person that lived there with me, I found out that I wasn't the only one experiencing these thoughts. Along with those thoughts, I also had this weird thought in my head. It was, there's a girl in here right now. I wonder what I was doing thinking something that stupid. You see, I left this house before anyone else. I was the last person to find out that a strange girl was seen by one of the ones who weren't smart like me to move out early. I kept to myself while I was living there and tried to stay in my own space, but life in that house got spookier. One night I was washing my hair in the sink in the 2nd floor, and the doorknob behind me, which led to the veranda, began to jiggle and make a sound like someone was playing with the doorknob. Of course, I got spooked. I would stop and look at the doorknob, with soap running down my face, and wonder what was going on. Finally, I mustered enough courage to just fling the door open to see who was out there. No one. The porch was empty. So I thought I must be imagining things, and proceeded to finish my hair. But the doorknob jiggled again, and I would stop washing my hair, look at the knob, and then the jiggling would stop. I tried to be more quick about my hair. Every time I would start to wash my hair again, the jiggling would start, until I looked directly at the doorknob. By this time I was quite scared. Finally, I called a friend in to sit with me while I finished my hair. In the meantime, different people were having their own experiences. On one of the rare occasions when there was hardly anyone in the house, one of my friends was about to ascend the second floor when a pillow came rolling down the stairs. She began to question whoever was around if they were the prankster. At the time, I was on the third floor reading a book. She questioned me also. I really enjoyed staying up late watching TV and drinking coffee all night long. Just once did I try this at that house. I found I couldn't do it. When I did attempt to enjoy my favorite pastime, I felt such a feeling that someone was watching me, even though I knew I was the only one awake. I was very scared. I didn't stay up much longer. I would find out later that other friends of mine who tried to stay up alone would experience someone calling their name in a whispering, hushed voice. I'm really glad that didn't happen to me. Finally, the depressed feeling in the house got to me, and I decided it was time to move. I really didn't tell any of my housemates I was moving. I packed all of my things and left them by the front door. And I decided I was going to leave them with a surprise. I was going to clean the house from top to bottom. But as I began to clean, I was more and more jumpy. I couldn't figure that out. And then I got this overwhelming feeling of fear. I couldn't describe it. I couldn't figure out the reason why. So I dropped everything I was doing, grabbed my things, and ran out the door. I got outside and took one long look at the house, and then just walked away. I'll never forget the feeling of relief and peace I felt the further I got away from that house. Around the time I moved out, the rest of the people began seeing the ghostly figure of a girl manifesting in the house. And that's when they all decided to move out. Story 4. Phone calls from the dead. In the early 2000s, my husband's mother passed away after a long bout of cancer. Sometime later, my husband, at 5 p.m., received a message on our answering machine that gave him chills. It sounded just like his mother. I didn't hear it, but according to my husband, it was almost inaudible. But he thought he heard his name. The first thing he thought was that his mother. But of course he dismissed this because it was so weird. You can't make phone calls after you died. He had been experiencing quite a bit of grief regarding her death. He was really close to his mom. He was an only child. And they did most of their communication over the phone, talking almost daily. My husband was with his mother when she passed away. A couple of days after this message, we woke up and saw that we had a message on the machine from 4:59 a.m., which first was strange because we usually hear the phone ring anytime throughout the night. My husband listened to it first, and then he called me into the kitchen. He was visibly shaken. and asked that I listen to the message and tell him what I thought. He played it back, and I got total chills. I distinctly hear his mother's voice say his name. I didn't know what to say. And then he explained to me that he had received another message similar to that a couple days before. He did delete both messages, mostly out of habit. Very strange, kind of scary. You can't make phone calls after you've died. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I have to say, the second story, Thinning the Veil, and the last story, Phone Calls from the Dead, really struck close to home for me. Either I've experienced very similar phenomenon, or people really close to me and my family have experienced very, very similar phenomenon. Have you ever experienced anything like that? I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a note down below. Send me an email at hauntedfamilypodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed these stories, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to. And until next time, bye. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio.